Hello and welcome to another segment of the LPE Author Chat series. This month we have our special Anthology Edition featuring authors of the soon-to-be released project, True Wealth Starts in the Mind, led by visionary author Lisa M. Jones. So this evening, we have with us one of the co-authors, Mr. Sedrick Thomas, and he penned the title, The Creative Power of Our Thoughts. So welcome to the broadcast, Mr. Sedrick Thomas.
Well, thank you, Emily. It's a pleasure to be on tonight.
Yes, excited to talk to you about your chapter. So why don't you talk to us right out the gate about why you chose the title, The Creative Power of Our Thoughts?
I thought about that as a title for my chapter in this great book because of the fact that all of our successes and our failures in life and the things that we accomplish and don't have to do with our thoughts. You know, our thoughts are creative forces, and they really do help spearhead everything that we achieve in our lives.
Right. That's so true. So what made you say yes to this project?
Well, Kimberly, Lisa M. Jones, the founding author of the book, is a dear friend of mine, and we share a lot in common. We share a lot of our success. And when she told me that she was doing the book and wanted me to do a chapter in the book, I was so excited about doing it, and I just jumped at the opportunity because I know anything that she's a part of can be a blessing to people and will be a blessing to people. And then when I heard about all of the other co-authors that are in the book who wrote
Yeah.
you know, they're very accomplished individuals.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have enjoyed reading all of the chapters. Um, so I love the way that you opened your chapter. And so I just want to share a little bit of that with our viewers. So you open your chapter saying, what we think, we say, what we say, we believe, what we believe, we see. What we see, we create. Therefore, always think about what you are thinking about. Sedrick Thomas. I love that.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. And so you said there are three things that create our reality: the thoughts we have, the words we speak, and the actions we take. And so I just really wanted to share that. And you said our thoughts have creative power. Everything starts with a thought. After the thoughts, words are spoken. Once you speak something, you set the wheels in motion for the action to follow. This is the process for creating, and ultimately, if you believe the words that are spoken and follow with action, you will have what you are seeking. Some call this manifestation, but I refer to it as the creative power of thoughts. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
Love
there's a
that.
story in the Bible in Genesis that talks about here on earth at one point there was one language, one tongue, one interpretation, and it says that man got together and they said, look, let's build a city and a towers to the heavens so that we could reach God. And it says that God looked down and spoke to himself and said, look at man and their imagination. There's nothing that man can't do. And then after that, he said, look, let's divide their tongues. And the reason why I think God did that is because he understood the creative power that we have in our words. But that creative power never left man. And our thoughts, the things that we think about, any thought that is repeated with emotion becomes a belief. And whatever we believe, we speak. And when we speak, we put the creative power of God in his universal system in place. So it starts the whole process of creation. And then if we follow up that with action, ultimately we get whatever we believe or whatever we thought, be it good or bad.
Yeah, yeah. And so it seems to me like you had this mindset from a very early age. So why don't you tell us about the business club you started at the age of 16?
Yes, I went to a local school here, a very well-known school here in the city of New Orleans. It was an African American high school by the name of McDonald 35, and so inside my going into my senior year, there were a couple dozen of my friends, we had gotten together and we decided that what we wanted to do is we wanted to start a business club. And so what we did is we got together. We had our first meeting at my mother's house, and we got everybody together, and we started a business club. And the intent was to inspire each other to go to become businessmen and businesswomen, and to go into business for ourselves and become entrepreneurs and control our own destiny. And ironically, it is safe to say that 90% of those individuals went on to become very, very successful businessmen and women in their particular fields and in the community that we live in.
Now that's fantastic that it lasted 90%. That's pretty good.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good. So you wrote in the book, you said, throughout my childhood and all of my school years, I saw my parents control their own time and destiny. They were their own boss. They never had to ask anyone to take off or to go on vacations. They were in control of their own schedules. So how did seeing that as a child impact your journey to success?
Well, the mere fact that I was able, Kimberly, to watch my father, who was a minister, he was in ministry, and my father pastored several churches throughout my childhood, and to see him every day get up and go into business for himself, in relationship to dealing with people, being in the people business and ministry, and not having a boss. And then my mother owned a daycare center, so my parents together owned a daycare center, and I just saw them being entrepreneurs. And after graduating, from high school and college, I went to work for a civil engineering company, and really did not like the idea that I had a boss and somebody was controlling my own destiny. And I began after that to seek entrepreneurship. And by the grace of God, I was in church praying on a Sunday, and on a Tuesday, I was invited down to a seminar, and I went into business with a gentleman. And as a result of seeing my parents control their own destiny, I was not afraid of becoming an entrepreneur. I knew that I could do it because I saw my parents do it.
Wow, that's really powerful, because they say our kids, they do more of what we do than what we say. So
Absolutely.
they're always watching us, and so that's incredible. And like we talked a little bit about before, that your kids or your children wrote something for the book, and so I'm sure that that's something that you've passed on, that they've watched your life and have been able to glean something from that as well. So that's really, really powerful.
Absolutely.
So you wrote, belief is a key component to the creative power of thoughts. One can have an idea and can even speak aloud about that idea, but in order to begin to invoke action, one must believe that they can achieve that idea. So you're saying that I can say something all day long, you can even say it loudly, but if I don't believe in my heart of hearts what I'm saying, it's not going to manifest.
Yeah, well, the reality of it is one of the things and that's absolutely correct. But one of the things that I've learned is that when I have the desire for something, Kimberly, I don't have to believe it at first. What I have to do though is I must create the belief for it. Now, how do we create belief in anything? Well, the Bible teaches that faith or belief comes by hearing. And you say anything over and over and over again with emotion, it becomes a belief. For example, if I say to you, who is the greatest of all time, and we're thinking about boxing, you will say to me, whom?
Muhammad Ali.
Now, who told you that?
Muhammad Ali.
He did. Now, look when he told us. Let's assume that he fought 60 fights. Did Muhammad Ali tell us at 50 that I'm the greatest of all time? No. Muhammad Ali won 3 little fights. His third fight, he beat Sonny Liston, and he says, look, I am the greatest of all time. I'm the greatest of all time. I'm the greatest of all time. I'm the greatest of all time. To the point that is in our consciousness today that he's the greatest of all time. And we can find a dozen people that have a better boxing record than him, including his sparring partner, Larry Holmes, who beat him, right?
Wow.
But it's the power of belief. So you don't have to believe a thing when you first desire it, right? So let's say somebody says, look, man, I want to become whatever it may be, whatever it follows up. But they don't have the belief. Not a problem. What you do have to do is you have to create the belief. And you do that by saying over and over and over again with emotion, a confession. And when it becomes belief, then the energy force of faith will produce whatever we believe, be it good or bad.
Wow. That's powerful. Wow. Yeah. So, affirmations are always big. So you're saying that there is power in that, speaking it.
Absolutely, and creating the belief for it.
Mhm.
What a person has to do is say if they're going to use an affirmation, they just got to say it in the present tense, as though it's already accomplished, that it's
Right.
already in existence, and you do it with emotion and begin to visualize the accomplishment of that. I'll give you an example. Um, in the business that I'm in, it happens to be the financial services business. The company I work with is one of the largest corporations in American business, and they have what they call the Wall of Fame. And the Wall of Fame
Mhm.
is the equivalent. You and I was talking about Ed Reed going into the Hall of Fame, right?
Right.
So this equivalent of that in financial services. Well, about 6 years ago, I began to create a vision of me being inducted into the Wall of Fame. And
Okay.
what I would do every day is I'd get up, I'd exercise, and I would say over and over again, as I would exercise and play the Hall of Fame music, I would visualize me and my family being inducted into the Wall of Fame of our
Nice.
corporation. And I do it every day. And I had a time stamp. It didn't happen when I time stamped it, but I held on to the belief. And about 6 years later, it was manifested just like I saw it in my eye. Now, when I first started, did I believe it? No, but I kept saying every day that welcome Sedrick and Tanya Thomas of this company's Wall of Fame, and eventually that manifested because of my belief.
I love it. What a great story.
Yeah.
I love it. So you had another great story that you wrote about in the book. And if you don't mind, I would like for you to share a little bit about what you wrote about your conversation that you had with your daughter about her grades, because I think that was just so powerful, that I believe that it might provide a breakthrough for other families that might be struggling in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at the time, my daughter was in the ninth grade, and I had sent her to the year prior to that, in the eighth grade. I had sent her to this private school, and it was a local private school, and so it cost me nice little amount of money to send her there, and so now she's going to the ninth grade. She's going to another private school. It's an all Catholic girls' school, and I
Mhm.
noticed that after a semester that she was making C's and D's, and so one day after I had enough of it, I called her and I said, "Look, Jade, why are you making these C's and D's?" And so she said to me, she said, and I said, look, the prior school that you went to, you were making A's and B's. Well, number one, the first thing that she told me, she says, well, Daddy, you paid for those grades, which was okay. And but she says, but she went on to explain. She says, look, just accept it. I'm a C and D student. And I
Wow.
said to her, I said, Jade, just like God said to Adam, I said to Jade, who told you that?
Mm.
And I said, because that's not what I believe, Jade. I don't believe that you're a C or D student. In fact, I believe that you're an AB student, and I can prove it to you. And
Wow.
what I'll do is, for every A that you make, I'll give you $100.
Wow.
Sweetheart, it didn't take her 2 weeks. Kimberly, it didn't take her 2 weeks. She started bringing A's back. She never got the money because I pay for everything. And
Right, right.
but it didn't take 2 weeks. And lo and behold, the young lady ended up finishing high school with a 3.7 grade point average. Went
Nice.
on to college, LSU, Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge. Got a degree in marketing and finished in marketing with a 3.8 grade average.
Wow.
The same person who sat there and said that, let's face it, I'm a CD student. And the point that I was making to her, which I remind her all the time, is that, it's what we think. It's what we think. And as long as you're thinking that you're a CD student, you'll be one. But
Right.
if you change your paradigm of what you believe, you can achieve and accomplish anything that you desire.
Yeah. That's a great story. Great story. Because it's all about the mindset. And you challenged her mindset. And I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that. So, so you're a successful business owner today, and you own your own firm. And you wrote, "The happiness I know today started with the quality of my thoughts. what would you say was a defining moment that caused a mindset shift in your life to make that a reality?
I think it happened really. This was real powerful. I was excited. I mentioned to you that I was in church on a Sunday. I was in church on a Sunday praying for an opportunity, hating my current condition at that time, being an employee, wanting to be in business for myself. And that was on a Sunday, praying before God for an opportunity. On a Tuesday, someone invited me to a seminar that was being held at the Doubletree Hotel, downtown Canal Street in New Orleans. And so I go there. I end up meeting a gentleman by the name of Mr. Warren. He eventually became my mentor and my coach. And so I was excited. I was extremely excited and about the opportunity. And I went home, and the first person I ran to was to tell my mother. And I said, Mama, I found it. I found the ticket that's going to help us become rich. And Kimberly, I'm not so certain that she believed me, but that lady looked me in my eye and she said, baby, if anybody can do it, you can do it. And I see
Wow.
so many parents and mothers steal and snatch the dreams that their kids may have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to preach this at our eulogy one day. Baby, if anybody can do it, you can do it, right? And I think that was it. Was that I had someone that I loved, and my
Mm.
mother stood there, and I'm not certain she believed it, but she looked me in my eye, and she saw my enthusiasm, and she had enough wisdom not to snatch my dream and said, "Baby, if you can do it, anybody can do it."
That is so powerful. That's so powerful because you are right. There are, I mentored teenage girls for about 13 years, and when you talk about parents snatching their children's dreams, because sometimes we can't see it. If it's not them saying, I want to become a doctor, a lawyer, or nurse, or, something traditional like that, some parents just can't grasp it and let the child live that dream because they don't think it's going to lead to wealth or something
Mm-hmm.
productive.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's just so powerful. So I'm glad you shared that. Thank you so much. Mm. So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to change their mindset or thought process as it relates to wealth?
The thing that oh, that's a very good question. The first thing that I think happens, Kimberly, and what I would tell them is that I'm writing a book of my own, and the title of the book is The God System: The Audacity of Creation, the 8 Keys to Creating and Manifesting Whatever You Want in Your Life. And the first thing that I've learned, and what I would share with them would be to, man, ask big. That if you're gonna pray, typically when we want to do something in life, we make a decision, we go to God. And unfortunately, many times what we do is we go to God and we ask too small, only because we only ask based upon what we can see. And my advice to anybody today would be that if you're going to ask God, you might as well ask Him big. Why? Because I've learned in my life, now that I'm an older businessman, a more mature businessman, that I get what I ask for, right? And that one of the mistakes that I made in my life was that I was asking too small. Why? Because God can do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask or think, but we don't
Yes.
ask big because we can't see. What I've learned and what I'd say to them is, look, don't ask God or the God system based upon what you can see today. Just ask big. And then the people, the situations, the circumstances, the conditions, the ideas, and the opportunities, they will come. You just have to have enough wisdom and knowledge to recognize what is happening so that God can help you manifest your God given goals and purpose in life. Because our success blesses multitudes of people, and our failure, no one.
Wow. Ask big. I
Ask
like
big.
that.
You know,
I need to
Donald,
go
like
write that.
Our president Donald Trump, like him or not, as a businessman, I highly respect him. And he said in the art of the deal that if you're gonna think, you might as well think big. And I say if you're gonna ask God, you might as well ask Him big, right?
Wow.
Don't ask Him small.
Yeah.
That'd be my advice.
I love it. Thank you. I need to write that somewhere where I can see it every day. Ask big.
Ask big.
Ask big.
Right?
I like it. So, what is one thing that you think stops people from attaining wealth?
Um, Not a very good question. I think the one thing that stops people from attaining wealth is that they have no goal to accumulate it.
Mm.
right? So they, because of their limited ability to see it, they don't think about it. They don't think about becoming wealthy, accumulating wealth, or having a big dollar amount of money that they want to accomplish. And I think the biggest thing that hinders people from getting and becoming wealthy is their lack of vision. You know, not having a vision big enough, right?
Mhm.
And because they've heard all their life, you can't do that. That won't happen. You know, you're too this, you're too that. That's not made for us. All this kind of
Mm.
limiting beliefs. And as a result of that, people don't have big goals. They don't act big. They don't have big dollar amounts of wealth that they'd like to accumulate.
Yeah, so true. So, what would you say is your definition of success and how has it changed over the years?
I would say that success, as I see it, is the forward moving towards any particular goal and objective that a person may want to achieve in life, right? So success for someone may be different than success for
Yeah.
another, right? So someone may say that, look, you know, what I like to do is I love people and love working with kids and I want to become a teacher. And if that is a goal and an objective that they want to have in their life and they move towards the attainment of that, then I think they become successful. But on the other hand, if a businessman says that, you know, I want to attain this, I want to do this, and they move towards the attainment of that and they accomplish it along the journey, I think that's success.
Awesome. Great, great definition. So, tell me what is the best piece of financial advice you've ever received?
Um, the best piece of financial advice I've ever received came from a book that was written from a founder of the company I'm associated with, and it was called Common Sense. And in that book, which was written by Art Williams, in the book Common Sense, he said the key number one is to pay ourselves first. That we need to make sure that we take somewhere between 10 to 20% of our income and put it aside and pay ourselves just like we pay everybody else. And unfortunately, and especially in the communities that I find in African American communities, we've been programmed to be consumers, and unfortunately, not enough of the wealth that we have going through our hands throughout our lifetime we retain. And that would be the biggest thing that I learned, and I would tell people is that make sure that you set aside and you invest anywhere from 10 to 20% of your income.
Awesome. Awesome. Great advice. Great advice. Wow. So we are winding down, coming to the end of our time. So, what do you have any other advice something that I didn't ask you that you would like to share?
Yeah, I think, and that would be this, is that I believe that if people want to become, because truly, as the book states, real wealth true wealth begins in the mind. And if you want to become wealthy and you want to prosper in life, you got to make sure that giving is a part of it. Why? Because it is truly more blessed to give than it is to receive. And I believe that in whatever endeavor you may have in your life, find a way to give to other people for the sole purpose of that endeavor. For example, I found that in my life, whenever I'm going for a promotion, I'm going for an increase in pay or a volume increase in business, that I would give specifically for that purpose. When there was a need and someone contacted me about a need, I would say, you know, God, I'm blessing this person, but this is for my promotion, or this is for the increase in pay, or this is for this. And as a result of that, you know, I truly, the word of God is true that says it's more blessed to give than it is to receive, and that when you give, it's given back to you more than it was when you gave. So that would be the advice that I would give people, is that, man, make sure that you're a giver, that you're blessing other people in need, and give it specifically for the things that you want to accomplish, and watch the God system work for you.
Also, name your seed.
Yes, absolutely,
Name
absolutely.
your
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. I mean, I know you're still at the office, so I really appreciate you taking the time to sit for this interview this evening. And we have enjoyed having you. And I'm so delighted that you agreed to be a part of the True Wealth Project. And I know Lisa's delighted to have you as well. So thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and your advice with everyone that's going to read this book. I know that it's going to impact across the nation. And so I'm just really, really excited about what you guys have done. So I really appreciate your wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kimberly, and it was truly a pleasure, and look forward to working with you on other projects.
Awesome. So thank you guys. Thank you to our viewing audience that's been hanging out with us for a while this evening. Thank you for being a part of the broadcast, watching this broadcast. I hope it has blessed you as the others have. And if you are someone who is thinking about or considering writing your own book, be sure to check us out at www.laboopublishing.com. Thank you guys and have a great evening. Take care and be blessed. Bye-bye.